type in your name, where you're tuning in from, and as always, are you a first time, a second time, or a third time? And by the way, can you see? Do you see what do you see when you look at the screen? Are you seeing the little picture of me and with the purple background? Is that what you're seeing? Cool. All right. Did you hear my little Greatest Showman preamble there? I thought we'd get a little bit of energy going really quick. Cool. Excellent. 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 So in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to switch to my facial screen. Although there's probably something I should do before I share my screen. Let me just see if I can do that real quick. You may actually be able to watch me do this in real time. Let's see here. So I need a pen. So first and foremost, if you watch my face, just like this here. Here we go. See, I believe in truth in advertising. So there we go. That's better. Can you guys see that? Why am I doing that, you might ask? Well, because I've been cooped up in a house way too long, and I do weird shit. Shit being a technical term. In Webinar Plus. Good to see you all again. So I see a lot of names flying by in the chat. So today is going to be kind of fun for us. My name is David Snyder, and I have a 10th degree black belt in the martial arts. I'm going to give you my pedigree in just a moment. But today is going to be a rather, most webinars that you type into, we're going to try and pitch you. They're going to try and pitch you something or sell you something. And there is an offer available at the end of this webinar. But this webinar is more about connecting and teaching you something really useful that you can go out. I'm gone. That was quick. Did we lose the picture again? Hey, Brandon. All right. I'm back. Okay. Pedal faster. It's not going. Yeah, it might be the fact that there's over 1,000 people enrolled in this webinar. It's filling up pretty quick. Okay, cool. Just refresh. Okay. So everybody's good? Yes, yes. Okay. So excellent. So just as a quick aside, how many of you, is this your first time with me again? I mean, there's a lot of people filtering in. I don't have anything either. Just refresh your screen. You should be, there's a lot of people still flooding in, so I apologize for that right off the bat. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, today is training. My name is Dr. David Snyder. I have a doctoral degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine. I'm the world's leading authority on, or at least as of 2020, I'm the #1 rated NLP teacher in the world, and I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence. And I'll go back over that pedigree again. But as you're typing, as you're coming in addition to just typing in where you're tuning in from, first or second time, just let me know what it is that you want to take away from today's webinar. Just type that in the chat. Okay. Yeah, there's, again, by the way, I apologize in advance. We did do Brandon and Henry told me that they did a last-minute upgrade with the tech prior to just prior to the webinar. They always like to pressure test their system right before I do a big event. So just reloading and you should be fine. So there's a lot of different directions that we can go in terms of how to read people instantly and understand their personality. And this training is kind of for you if you'd really like to be able to just look at somebody and know instantly aspects of their personality that they might never tell you, how to relate to them, how they think and feel, and how they're most likely to respond to different types of influence. You can look at them and know what their trauma history is. In other words, not necessarily what happened to them, but when it happened to them and how significant it was in their life. You can look at people and know if they're going to be a potentially romantically compatible partner for you. If you're in sales or business, you can look at this and know, are they someone who's very data driven? Are they someone who's very pragmatic and practical and cares only about what's going to get the job done in the shortest amount of time possible? Are they someone who's just got to go with their gut and love what's going on and what's being presented to them before they're willing to listen to anything else in your presentation? This is just a tiny piece of what we can do with the art and science of face reading. So before we jump into the actual content for today, this is kind of a non-traditional webinar in that we're going to be starting off with some basic administrative stuff. We're going to go through my introduction again, just for people who got in late or what have you. And then we're going to go into the content that you want to know about. In other words, do you want to know about emotions in the face? Do you want to know about, thinking styles? Do you want to know about personality and temperament? And we're going to go as deep as we can in the time that we have. Get rid of wrinkles. Well, actually, Anna, that's actually part of what happens is when you do face reading, I call it Chinese vibrational psychotherapy, because it literally, if someone comes in and there's people who did one of our face reading classes, go ahead and type in the chat room if what I'm saying is true in your experience or not. When someone comes in and you start to do a face reading, I call this process Chinese vibrational psychotherapy. And when you actually clear a trauma based on the markings on the face, those markings actually change. Sometimes they fade away completely. Sometimes you'll see a facial feature literally get larger or broader. The colorations will change. And there's lots of things that we can do with face reading. And that's why I like to tell you right now that if this is the scope of everything we could cover in the next however long we're going to be on here. We usually schedule our webinars for 90 minutes, but our webinars are very heavy on content, so they tend to go a little bit longer. So my promise to you is this: I will take you as far and as deeply as I can in the time that we have, and then I will point you in the direction of where to go for more. Is that a fair trade? Is that okay? Type yes if it's okay for you. Okay, cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We're actually going to talk about the which sides are which. Excellent. I want to thank you guys for coming in. I hope everybody is doing well in these tough times. I know a lot of us are getting stir crazy. I know my kids are like gnawing their arms off to go and do stuff and get, and so I hope everybody is, again, I'm about to say maybe a little bit controversial, but I hope everybody is staying safe and doing things smart, but at the same time, not giving in to the fear and the panic that seems to be, surrounding us and inundating us, because of the times that we're in. Okay. Okay. So let me go ahead and, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to go ahead and go through a brief couple of slides just to kind of reiterate where we're coming from. I got some administrative stuff I'd like to get out of the way first, though. So first and foremost, if this is your first time with me, and if it is your first time with me, thank you so much for choosing to spend a portion of your day with us. And I hope that you come away from this webinar with something that you can truly use. You can take it right out into the field and start putting it to work for yourselves right away. So first and foremost, I'm a guy who likes to call things the way they are. I like to call a spade, an ace an ace, a spade. I don't believe in bullshit personally. I'm going to tell you things the way they are. That being said, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your Tuesday afternoon. If you like things told the way they are and as, upfront a manner as possible, that's cool. If you like a little tongue-in-cheek humor, you're probably in a good place. If, like I said, if the scope of everything that we have to teach is here, we have time for this. And I'm going to take you as deep into these things as possible. Well, obviously, I'm a teacher who believes in interactiveness, and I love questions. Now, that being said, it's always one of my biggest Achilles heels as well, because when we ask questions, I love to give you answers, but sometimes those questions take us off in directions we weren't actually planning to go. And that can be frustrating for some people who aren't used to my presentation style. Okay. Chinese face reading certainly has a very deep and a rich history within the Chinese medical systems, as well as in most parts of Asia, Malaysia, Japan, Korea as well. And I'm going to try and answer as many of those questions as I can. So let's just take a moment and let me just jump to my PowerPoint so we can talk a little bit about who I am and how this all kind of comes together for us. Feel free to keep typing your questions in the chat room. I probably, unfortunately, the questions are flying by really, really fast. So if I miss it, just keep asking it. Anna's saying, give us the shit without the bullshit, David. Thank you, Anna. All right, so let me go ahead and jump to my PowerPoint if that's okay. And we'll go from there. Welcome to our official presentation. You can see my little do-it-yourself beard and goatee there. How to instantly read anyone's personality in just minutes. And if you follow the process that I'm going to share with you, you're going to learn in a very short amount of time how to look at somebody's face, their shape of their head, the size of their cheekbones, the size of their eyebrow bones, the shape of their ears, and be able to know how these people think and feel and behave and be able to predict their behavior. You're going to be able to look at somebody and uncover hidden traumas, both things they know about, things that are obvious to them, as well as things they don't know about. You're going to look at people and be able to take a snapshot of their emotional life. You'll be able to know instantly, are these people harboring a lot of sadness? Have they had a lot of disappointment in their life? Are they over nurturing? Are they holding on to a lot of bitterness? And you'll be able to, if you follow the processes and the protocols that we teach in upcoming courses, you'll be able to help people clear these things from yourself as well as from other people. You'll be able to look at people and know how they make decisions. And one of the funnest, the best parts of this is you'll actually be able to look at somebody and know how sexually or romantically compatible they may be with you or with one another. And that's just, again, a tip of a very large iceberg. Which brings us to the question, who the hell is Dr. David Snyder, and why should I care? Well, again, to just go through a brief history, I have a doctorate in acupuncture and Oriental medicine from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. And I've been trained in the full spectrum of Chinese medicine, everything from herbs to acupressure to needling techniques, things of that nature. In this year, 2020, as well as for this year in 2020, I was named the #1 NLP teacher in the world by globalgurus.org. Prior to 2020, I was in the top 2 NLP trainers in the year, so 4 years at the top of our field. This year, our flagship influence course, Killer Influence: Secrets of Covert Hypnosis, was voted by my peers and ranked as the #1 best program in the world for NLP and covert and conversational hypnosis. So we're very proud of that. And as you can see, this is our these were the runners-ups, so to speak, and we're right here. I don't have a marker, so I can't show you that, but that's okay. I also have a 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate, a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, a 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo, and a 1st degree black belt in Fankuru Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a certified instructor in Combat Sistema, Cinco Mano Eskrima, and Modern Ernese. Now, as I go through all of these things, people in the background are kind of out there, and they're going, well, okay, fine. You're a doctor of this, and you're #1 in that, and you're a black belt in this, and what the hell does all that have to do with face reading? Everything. Everything. Because every single discipline that I've shared with you that I've been trained in goes back to one big piece, and that is pattern recognition. Hold on a second. I've discovered I can actually make markings on this face. Pattern recognition, the ability to look at a process or person and understand the telltale markings that reveal underlying patterns of thought, patterns of emotion, patterns of behavior, patterns of movement. Everything that these disciplines do is about recognizing cycles and rhythms and patterns within the human being, as well as the internal universe, or the microcosm, as well as the macrocosm. And so it's very, very important that everything that I'm going to share with you has over 3,500 years of observational experimentation and exploration behind it. In addition to that, a lot of modern neuroscientists as well as social psychologists are discovering large amounts of correlation between certain markings and architectures of the face with certain behavioral and emotional predispositions. So, and if you want, I'll see if I can provide a few links to some really cool articles. Like there's one article I came across the other day. Researchers have discovered that you can actually detect narcissists by the shape of their right eyebrow. It's very bizarre. It's really, and they did this using like big data crunching AIs and things like that, as opposed to just observing. It was really cool how they did it. So I wanted to share that with you. But if you stay until the end, I'm going to show you a really cool way to get the biggest training, the deepest immersion in these skills, so you can go out into the world and be the most popular guy or girl at a party. You can look at a potential date or mate and know right away, is this person going to be a fit for me, or is it going to be an oh hell no kind of an experience? You know, you can walk into any jury or courtroom or sales presentation and know instantly how to present your information in the way that's most emotionally and cognitively palatable, desirable for the person in front of you. You're going to gain tremendous insight into people as a natural byproduct of the training you're going to receive today. Okay. And so that brings us to the cool question of the day, which is, hold on a second. What do you want? Type it in the chat. What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn about emotions in the face? You want to learn about health and healing? You want to learn about pattern matchmaking and business applications? What do you want to learn about first? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of it. Emotions, business applications, all of the above. Health, okay. Health and healing. Oh, we got a lot more people doing healing today. That's good. All right, excellent. Liars, okay. Very cool. Unpacking emotions and healing. Okay, I'm gonna have Stephanie go back over all of these and see where we start. Okay, perfect. Not interested in dating? Not a problem. Emotions and business, okay. All right, I think the best place to start is with emotions and business. And then we're going to transition actually, we're going to do emotions first, because from emotions, we can translate very quick. We can cover both healing and business right off the bat. And then we'll kind of circle around into dating and sales. Now, here's what my plan is for today. Let me just jump out of this real quick for you. And let me kind of give you my evil plan for today. Hold on a second. Where's my there it is. Oh, that's why I got the writing control on there. Presenter view. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. I'm still learning my way around all these. Let's turn that off. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to my full screen view so I can see you, or at least you can see me. Talk about what we're going to start with. So there's certain foundations that we have to cover. Now, in what I've been doing over the last probably 3 or 4 years, ever since I started learning, I actually started learning about facial almost 10 years ago. My teacher is Lillian Bridges. She's the world's leading authority on emotions and the face, or face reading, I should say. And everything that Lillian teaches is brilliant. It's spot on, but it also presupposes that you have a background in Chinese medicine. And so one of the projects I've taken on for myself over the last, I would say probably a good 3 years now, 4 years now that I've been teaching face reading, is I've been trying to re-engineer or reorganize the system so that people who did not have a background in Chinese medicine could actually just go in, learn what they wanted to know, and apply it right away without having to spend a year learning Chinese medical theories and learning the elements and things like that. So there's certain things I think jump right that go immediately to the usefulness of the system right away. And so that's where I want to start. with some basic ideas of head shape and some basic nomenclature. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some pictures, and I want to talk about three things: Jing, Qi, and Shen. Those are three Chinese words, and Jing is kind of like intrinsic life force or energy. It's kind of like the material, energetic basis of your body. It forms your bones and your soft tissues and everything material about you. But hidden and stored within that material substance is the energetic components, the directions and the instructions for the material side of you. And we inherit that from our parents. And so when we look at, so first and foremost, you have three components or three elements that we look at as face reading. The first one is called Jing. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. Can you see where I'm highlighting the word Jing? And the things we can see when we look at a person's Jing, we can see their overall health. We can look at their lifestyle and their constitution. We can assess their trauma history. We can see if they've inherited a lot of traits from their ancestors. This is gets kind of weird and woo-woo, but if you look at modern studies in epigenetics and things like that, they're showing us now that genetic alterations from trauma and various other types of emotional factors or environmental factors can be passed down through the generations. So we can see those things in the face of the people that we're reading. We can also diagnose their fundamental energy. So so when we talk about Jing, what I want you to think of is health, lifestyle, trauma history, and constitution. That's about as, those areas are going to be, Anna's asking, what can support Jing in the way of herbs or supplements? The way that you support Jing, Anna, is by managing it appropriately. Now, classical modernized versions of Chinese medicine, as well as many of the classical schools of Chinese medicine, say you get all of your Jing from your parents, from your mother and from your father. You have a finite amount of it. It cannot be replenished. And once it's gone, you shuffle off this mortal coil to the next incarnation. But there are certain more esoteric, little-known schools in China that say, yes, it is possible to make more Jing, but it's not easy, and you have to live lifestyle a certain way. And so it comes down to all these styles, regardless of whether you believe you can make more Jing or not, they want you to do something called yang sheng, which literally means right living, and that's for the purpose of Jing management. It's to make sure that you get the most mileage from the fuel that you have. Okay. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these terms, but I want you to have a basic framework. So when you hear me say Jing, you know what I'm talking about. Robert's going, fuck, what's going on, brother? Jing is on the screen. So is Qi, right? The next place we're going to look at, or the next substance we're going to look at, is Qi, and that was very good. Okay, and when we talk about a person's Qi, and what we can see from a person's Qi, or their energy, is their personality and temperament. We can see which experiences they have spent the most time going through, repressing, or not processing. We can look at a person's Qi, and by the markings of the face, the shapes of their facial features, we can look at their relation. We can start to extrapolate the relationship styles that they have, how they relate to people, how they communicate with people, their cognitive predispositions. Are they very data driven? Are they very pragmatic? Are they more intuitive or impulsive or driven by their gut instinct? And from these things, we can start to combine traits, look at how they interact with each other, and we can start to actually predict their behavior. We can start to predict how they'll do in certain types of jobs, what kind of decisions they'll make in certain situations. Anne Marie is asking, so Jing is the outer energy, Qi is the inner energy? No, actually, the best metaphor, let me switch back to my video for this. Jing, and we're talking about Qi. There is a relationship there, okay? But here's how I want you to think about your Jing and your Qi. There's probably a little bit of lag when I change from one. Yeah, think of a log and a burning log. Okay. There's a log that has all of this stored potential in it. And then there's this spark, this energy that comes in, and it starts to combust the elements of the log. And as that combustion, that process happens, heat is released, energy is released. Just if you lose me, just refresh your page, because I'm on a hardwired connection. So yeah, just refresh your page, you'll be fine. So think of the log that's burning as the Jing. There's a finite amount of energy that can be tapped into in that log. The fire is the process of releasing that energy. The energy that's being released and expressed is your chi. Now, depending on what the log is made of, you guys ever notice that if you go to like if you do a lot of camping, or like around the holidays, if you go to like Ace Hardware or a lot of these seasonal stores, they'll sell you a log that when you put it in the fireplace, it burns like green, or it burns red, or it burns purple. You guys ever see those logs? Yes or yes? Okay. If you haven't, I don't know, colored logs, yeah. So if you think about that, how that energy and that log interact and what that log is made out of, the components of that log, you have a pretty good metaphor for how the Jing and your chi express your face, the life that you lead. The colorations, the facial features, the size of certain facial features, the proportions of them, the colorations of them, all are based on the Jing and Chi interaction. Okay, so but each of them is different enough to warrant its own approach. Now, the idea behind Yang Sheng or Jing management is that through living a proper way, you can minimize the use of the Jing that you inherited, and you can make up the difference or the buffer with Chi, because Chi is a renewable resource. You can get Chi or energy from the food that you eat and the air that you breathe. And if you understand advanced meditative and Taoist alchemical practices, you can condense and transform Chi into a higher substance, a higher vibrating energy. So Taurus is asking, removal of bone can affect Jing. Yes, removal of bone can affect Jing, because it is Jing. And so talking about when we can take that Chi, we can convert it into Shen. And what it really means is by taking the Jing and the Chi, and through an alchemical process, which usually involves a lot of emotional clearing, we transform that energy into a higher vibration, the energy known as Shen. And so let me go back to my, oh shoot, that didn't work the way I planned it. And so once we can start doing that, we can start looking at Shen. And Shen literally means spirit. We talk about Shen, what we're actually looking at, aside from the transpersonal aspects of something, is we're talking about a person's mental and emotional health. We can look at a person's Shen, and the way you measure Shen is when you look at somebody, there's a light that emanates from behind their eyes and beneath the skin, or from below the skin. The brighter that light, the brighter that glow. If you've ever seen, yeah, I don't have a lot of, she's asked if I can please share my slides. I don't have a lot of information on the slides. I'm actually doing this on a OneNote because this is kind of tailored to what you were asking for. I can share I can share you some stuff though. So there's a light that emanates from behind the eyes and from below that, and the modulation, the brightness or the dullness, the lifelessness or the expressiveness of it gives us insight into a person's emotional issues. We can tell how if someone's manic, depressive, or bipolar. We can tell if they're schizophrenic, if they have a proclivity to violence. We can look at them and know how charismatic they are. And the Chinese, interestingly enough, actually classify charisma into 5 different types, which is kind of interesting. Only they call it peach luck. We can talk about that. Learning how to become a Shen reader allows you to detect when people are lying, because the light behind their eyes tends to dim or go flat. when people lie. You can look at the light behind their eyes, and you can look at the brightness of their temples and know if they're prone to addictions or not. If they have a strong desire for altered states, psychopathy and related areas also show up when we're looking at Shen. Okay, so when we talk about face reading, you're going to hear me talk about and these aspects are not separate. They all interact with each other. They're all very, very interwoven. What I've tried to do more user friendly but I still have to give you some background in how that works. Okay, so let's look at some things that we can start taking out into the field right away. And when you want to do this for emotional healing, whether you want to do this for business applications, whether you want to do this for physiological healing, these are things that are going to pay immediate dividends to you. So first and foremost, let's look at zones of the head. When we talk about zones of the head, there's several ways we can divide it. Okay, we can divide it into a left side and a right side. We can divide it into a top and a bottom, and we can divide it into 3 specific zones. Each one of those is going to tell us something very, very specific about an aspect of that person's life. Okay, and this is directly relevant to emotions. So just stay tuned. We got to give you the picture frame before we give you the picture. So let's look at. I'm looking for the PDFs, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So first and foremost, if we look at the face, we'll do this. Whoops, what the heck just happened? Here we go. Can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, good. All right, so first and foremost, if we take a line and draw it right. Why are you not letting me draw? Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. We draw that line right down the center. The left side of a person, and this is true left, so it's going to be over here, I'm sorry, my screen reversed that for me. The right side of a person is their public side. This is the persona that they want to show the world. Okay, so most people are right-eye dominant. So when you look at somebody, you look at them through your right eye with your at their right side, and this is the face you'll see. If you cover your right eye and look at the left side of somebody's face through your left eye, you'll start to see their private life, or who they are when nobody's looking. Now, this has immediate ramifications in both relationships as well as business applications. Left and right are always what we call true left and true right. In other words, it's the person's left side. In other words, if they lifted their left hand, that would be the side. If they lifted their right hand, that would be the right side. So true right is always their right-handed side. True left is always their left-handed side. Okay? When you're doing business with people, you want to play to their business persona, their public persona. You want to talk to them as the person they want the world to see them as, rather than peeling back their social masks and getting very personal and private with them. Now, in classes like Killer Influence and things like that, we'll show you how to peel back those public personas to get right into the things that are most emotionally powerful for them, and you can use those things and emotionally bond them to your product or service. But at an initial meeting, when you look at somebody's right side, they're going to show you the face they want the world to see. When you look at their left side, you're going to see the face they only show very special, very private people. Okay? Is that clear? Yes or yes? Yes, Monty. The right side is mother's side. Left side tends to be towards fathers. In a lot of, it's a little confusing sometimes when it comes to Taoist approaches, because sometimes they actually change yin and yang and right and left. So here's a good way that you can remember male versus female. As women are always right, and what's left is male. Women are always right, and what's left is male. The women always get a kick out of that one for some reason, right? Okay. There will be a replay, so if you get bounced out, keep trying, and I will go back over the questions and try to get as many of them in. My intention is to teach you as much information as I can for about an hour or so. Then we're going to go back and we're going to cover what we've got coming up in the package we put together for you. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the classroom and I'm going to keep teaching for a little while so we can get more and more of your questions answered. Would that be okay? Yes or no? Okay. So yeah, so someone keep time for me at about the 55-minute mark or about, quarter after, something like that. Just let me know and I'll go through what we have planned for you, give you a chance to get in on the ground floor of something amazing, and then I'll come back and I'll keep teaching for a while. Okay. So are we good with? Let me turn this off before I wind up making markings I don't want to make. So we clear about public versus personal side? Okay, cool. The next thing I want us to look at, and this is probably, to me, when I first started learning face reading, this was the one that, to me, just popped right out as one of the most directly useful understandings of the face. And what I found with this was that there was a direct correlation to handwriting analysis. 1 second, where'd my... Okay, handwriting. I've been studying graphoanalysis now for probably 20 years. And one of the things you see, remember I talked about pattern recognition, is there's a direct correlation between handwriting analysis and the zones of the face. So I thought that was really cool. So your upper zone is your data zone, your cognitive zone, or your data-driven zone. Hold on a second. Data. Okay. So when you see someone with a very high forehead, and the way you measure this is from the base of the eyebrow, or the top of the eyebrow, to the hairline. To the hairline. If the person's upper zone is larger than the zone from here to here, they're very data driven. In other words, if you start to present to these people and you start talking about all the things it's going to do for them and how they're going to love it, they'll look at you, they'll smile, they'll nod, and they'll say, okay, what data do you have to support that? What data do you have? Whereas if you lead with the data first, these people love charts and graphs and all those things. If you ever get a chance to see my partner at Jet Webinar, Brandon, his upper zone dominates almost his entire head. He's very data driven. And every time I ask a question, he answers me with a spreadsheet. So it's really interesting. If you have somebody with a very large middle zone, this is somebody who is very practical. The technical word would be pragmatic. Okay, these people don't necessarily care about the data right away. They're not necessarily going to love it right away until you show them or demonstrate to them how it's going to solve a problem they're having in their life. So if you see somebody whose middle zone is dominating the entire rest of his forehead, do big noses count? Yes, they do, but they count differently. Okay, when we're looking at the head shapes, we're looking at the frames of the picture more so than the details of the painting. A big nose is usually someone who is very, very driven. They're usually quite successful in business. They tend to be very dominant. Okay, which, if you think of it, is a very practical, pragmatic kind of an attitude. But it doesn't necessarily. Yeah, not a problem. Big noses are good for business. If you're a big person in business, if you're in business and you have a big nose, you're probably going to be quite successful. You may piss a lot of people off in the process, just saying, but you'll probably be really successful. So having a large nose is usually a really, really good sign. But you need to it needs to be buffered by other traits, and that's kind of the real art behind face reading. Isn't just looking at a feature and knowing what it means. It's looking at several features, knowing what they mean and how they interact with each other. Large or long noses, they all mean something slightly different. But when we're talking about a large nose in general, we're talking about this as a surface area. How much surface area is it taking up? Sean's asking, what about face surgery? Does it affect face reading? Yes, it does. It absolutely does. The only thing I can't really tell you about is to what degree, over what period of time. But we do know that faces change. Faces change. So the upper zone is your data zone. In other words, people who have a big upper zone, they want facts, figures, evidence. And they generally want it first. If you're going to come to these people with a claim, you better show them the data first. Arnaud wants to know about the difference between data-driven and pragmatic. Pragmatic people don't care about the data. Pragmatic people don't care about the data. It's kind of like me. It's like I'll give you a real quick example. One of my first instructors in the martial arts used to say, don't show me your rank, get on the floor and show me what you can do, right? Data would be showing them the belts, the certificates, all that stuff, but you haven't really shown them what you can do. Pragmatic people are say, show me what it'll do for me, prove it to me, and then show me the data that supports your conclusions. Okay, they're not going to be as focused on data so much as they want to know what it's going to do for them. They want to know, why should I care? If you remember, I began this webinar with this guy, who is Dr. David Snyder and why should I care? It's because I'm a practical dude. And most of you on this webinar didn't come here just for the entertainment value and seeing me in a cool vest, right? You came here because there was something you really, really wanted, some goal that you have that you feel face reading can help you achieve, and I want to help you get it. So your pragmatic side, you were coming here to solve a problem or learn a new skill to help you solve multiple problems. And so I needed to connect all that seemingly irrelevant stuff to why we're learning about reading faces and personalities. That's a very pragmatic approach. I could sit there and bore you with the data and the details, but a pragmatist won't care. They'll say, okay, you show me, they're going to say, show me what you can do. Show me how it's going to change my life. Right. I could give you some other colorful examples that some of my peers in the dating niches used to say, but we're going to try and keep at least a PG rating for this training. Okay. Now the final zone that we're going to look at is the one that can be the most challenging, and not because it's bad, but it's because these people tend to make decisions very, very quickly, and once they've made that decision, unless you know certain tactics, it's really kind of hard to change. And we call this the earth zone, or the lower zone. We call this the instinctive or intuitive zone. These are people who follow their guts or their intuition, right? They're very emotionally, they make very, very emotional decisions. They make very, very quick decisions. If you've ever read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about people who are natural thin slicers, people who can just look at a couple pieces of information and instantly know what to do. If you see people with a big lower zone, a big heavy bottom jaw or chin that juts out and it dominates the rest of the face, you're looking at somebody who's going to go with their gut. And so when you present, you need to present in such a way that you stimulate the gut region. You understand that? Does that make sense? Really, here's a really good experiment that you can go and prove this to yourself. I want you to find in your area the place that is the business that has the most tech orientation that you can find. In other words, like if you come to San Diego here, we have Qualcomm. If you live up in San Francisco or the Bay Area or Silicon Valley, you may go to Microsoft or Apple. And look at the people going in and out of the buildings. And look at the relative size of their zones. And you'll see what I mean. Next, go to an MMA gym, like a place. You guys know what I mean when I say MMA, mixed martial arts, or a fitness center where there's a lot of heavy duty weightlifting going on, and look at these zones again, and you'll see a complete inversion. In most cases, you'll see at places like Microsoft, and again, don't believe me, just go do it. Places like Microsoft or Apple, you'll see a huge amount of upper zone dominance. When you go to a place like an MMA gym or people who are very fitness oriented, these military boot camps, the three zones are equally divided, Karen. You're looking at somebody who may have trouble making a decision. But the idea is we actually do want these things to be balanced. And there's an optimal order that we want to follow. And I can actually show you references to other technologies that kind of verify this. Edisar is asking, what if the person has equal forehead and bottom jaw? What does that mean? It shows you here's the thing. When you look at the proportions of these three zones, what it's giving you, and this is something I want you to write down. What it's giving you is what information to present first, second, and third. Okay? You understand? It's not that if somebody's got a very large upper zone that you just present only data. No. That's what you lead with. So if you have, let's say somebody had, let's just go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If this is their largest zone, their second largest, and their third largest zone, that tells me that I need to present the data first, show them how it'll help them, and what it'll do, how and what, and tell them how much they're going to love it. Does that make sense? If you try to present instinctive data first or emotional data first, you're going to get into what we call a frame war. If you've studied any of Oren Klaff's work, you're going to see people go into the analyst mode. They're going to say, well, where's your data? What supports what you're saying? How do you know I'm going to love it until I've seen the data, right? You're going to get into a frame war with people. But if you match how they consume information, how they process information, we call this cognitive styles. Okay. Now let's invert that. Let's say that this, let me use a different color. Let's okay. Let's say this is their biggest zone. This is their second biggest. This is their third biggest. Now, if I go in and I start, and this person is an instinctive or gut-driven person, an emotionally driven person, and I go in there with data, you're going to see the lights just shut off, right? You've all seen this happen, right? You've all seen people. Maybe you're in a sales presentation, maybe you're even on a date, and there's something that you talk about that they hit on and they're passionate about, and their eyes light up, and then you start elaborating or going off on a tangent, and you can just see the eyes start to dim out. You guys ever seen that? Type in the chat if you've seen that. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. If you understand how to look at a face and extract this presentation code, you know exactly what data to hit them with, and you covered all your bases. So if someone's data driven, start with the data. If they're pragmatic, again, start with what they do the most first. So if someone's very pragmatic like me, and I'm pretty balanced, by the way, but I'm at the end of the day, if I can't do something with it, I lose. I don't care what the data says. Tell me what it's going to do for me. Tell me how much I'm going to love it, and then show me the data that supports your conclusions. Right? I have a very large, by the way, I have a very large forehead. So actually, if you tell me what something's going to do for me, and then you show me the data that supports it, I'll automatically fall in love with it. So you see, it's not one zone that we're looking at. Just like I told you before, the magic of face reading isn't just knowing what each of the zones represent. It's knowing how they interact with each other. And yes, Muhammad, it is a form of pacing and leading, but it's based on their physiognomy or the topography of their face more so than the words that come out of their mouth. Okay. So Tamara is saying, I'm very sensitive to people's energies and can read instantly if I like them or not. What energy am I picking up on face energy? It can be a lot of the information that you do pick up will emanate from the eyes and from below the skin. But there's a lot more subtle channels of information going on there than just face energy. But you got to remember something, and this is an important piece, is that over 55% of the surface area of your brain is monopolized by your eyes, by your visual system. The second largest proportion is your hands. That's why in our therapy work, we're always engaging the eyes and we're always engaging the hands. Okay? So are we cool? Are we clear on the 3 zones and how they work? Type yes if you're good. Cool. All right. Is that useful? Is this useful? Excellent. Thank you, guys. And again, I apologize, even though it's not my fault. I apologize if you're having trouble staying online or whatever. A lot of it is a lot of people using the internet right now, and nothing tests new technology upgrades faster than lots of people using the service at the same time. Sean Hamilton's asking, how do you build on the zones for solving solutions? You're going to have to elaborate on that question, Sean, because it's a very vague question. Logan's asking, can face reading apply to people under 10? Yes, but you got to be very careful. In fact, if you're going to look at a child's face, I might as well just put this out there. The Chinese have this concept they call original face. We cover this extremely in our Ming modules, which is a different original face. And it shows up, you're never close. The original face is kind of like your spirit, the mission you took on when you chose to take on a body. It gets a little woo-woo, and it's not really where we're going, although this stuff can definitely get woo-woo. But one of the things that you can see is from the age of 0 to 3, a person is never as close to who they're supposed to be as at that age. So when you look at children's faces, especially from the ages of 0 to 3, you can start to look at talents and things that they've inherited from their ancestors and extrapolate, kind of where they need to go with their life. But one of the things you have to be very careful of, especially if it's your child, is children are extraordinarily susceptible to the statements and the judgments that we make. And so I was taught that you should never give a reading, you should never give a face reading to anyone who's still below the age of 18. They're very, very impressionable, and it's very, very easy to install a suggestion in them that could define the course of their life. Now, it doesn't mean you can't read their face and look at their face and extrapolate and know within yourself what's going on with that person. It just means you have to be very, very careful what information that you share and how you share it. Does that make sense? One of the things, and this is something I want to really, let me jump back to face with you for just a moment, just because I want to have some face reading, aside from NLP and hypnosis and graphoanalysis, which is probably the closest to what we're doing now. Face reading is one of the most powerful skill sets I've ever learned. And one of the reasons that it's so powerful is not only can you actually heal people and help them overcome emotional stuff, you can influence them very, very powerfully in ways that are very, very hard for them to resist. In fact, one of the most, I teach this in Killer Influence. If you come to the training in July, Defense Against the Dark Arts, we'll show you just how this particular phenomena creates hyper-suggestibility in people. But anytime you, as a practitioner, as an operator, an agent of influence, can demonstrate knowledge of people that they've never told you, that you couldn't have known any other way, and you do it with the right energy, the right rapport, and things like that, that person, you automatically positions you in their mind as an authority over them. They start to become very, very compliant and suggestible to the words you speak and the intentions behind your words. So not only can we look at people and instantly know their personality, not only can we look at people and get an X-ray into their health, their trauma history, their lifestyle, their constitution, when we start to utilize the information that we get, we can construct very powerful types of suggestions and communications that fit how they're going to process. But by demonstrating that knowledge, we can actually make them more and more susceptible to our influence. Which, if you're a Jedi like the people I trained, then that's a good thing, because then you're only influencing them for their highest good. But I want to get that out there, because this is a very powerful skill set to have on a lot of different levels. Christy's saying, does this apply to non-neurotypical autistic? Actually, yeah, you can look at an autistic person's face and get some pretty powerful information. And that takes us down a completely different rabbit hole. It's interesting when we talk about autistic, Asperger's, and even Down syndrome children. Chinese actually consider children with Down syndrome to be extremely lucky. And they have very lucky faces from a Chinese perspective. Okay. Okay. Let's not go down that road. Okay. Because we'll be, again, I want to get you guys to the emotional part. Would that be okay? Yes or yes? Okay. So going back to this, I forgot to, you guys back? Is back? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was my fault. I forgot to click the button. So let's look at this from a relationships perspective. And here's the takeaway. Now I have a whole class coming up in 2021, which is all about face reading for relationships and matchmaking and sexual and sensual compatibility. That was actually one of the big three areas that face reading was used in Chinese culture and Asian culture in general. Still is, for that matter. So if I have somebody who is very data driven, and then they're pragmatic, and then they're instinctive, what would be the best match for that person? Do you think it would be somebody who is, maybe would it have to be the opposite so they fit? Would it have to be some other combination? What do you think would be the best fit for somebody who is, top dominant? Some of you have been to my classes already, right? Exactly. This is, again, one of those places where you see a lot of different systems from a lot of different fields of study overlapping. The secret is, if you want compatibility, match everything. The more features that you have that are similar, the more compatible you're going to be. Okay? That's how it works. Literally. It's literally how it works. Okay? Now again, in future classes we'll cover the sexual side. We can actually look at your nose and know things about your genitals that you probably don't want most people to know. So we won't be covering that in this training, but I want you to know that if I ever meet you in person, I know things about you. Okay. Yeah, you'll see a lot of times that couples that spend a lot of time together, they start to look like each other. In fact, how many people you know that have a pet and they look like their pet or their pet looks like them? That's not an accident. That's a natural phenomenon. In fact, here's a little fun factoid. This I learned from Lillian, and I thought it was amazing. Did you know if a man and a woman get married and she goes outside the marriage, gets pregnant from someone outside the marriage, after the baby's born, it will start to look more and more like the father. Did you know that? Same thing happens with adopted kids. It's a vibrational survival mechanism that's built into us. There's some part of us that knows the more like the people in our environment we are, the more chances of survival we have. Okay? It's bizarre. Yeah. But the best place that you can see a lot of this is when you look at people and their pets or couples that have been together for 20, 30, 40 years. Look at the pictures of when they got married. Look at pictures of them now. That'll start out as the biological father, Jackie, but over time, the child's face will morph more and more to more closely match either the mother, probably for sure, and then the father. I learned that from Lillian. I had no idea that was true. This is why people are attracted to the same culture. Yes, Anna, one of the things, and we're going to cover this in Killer Influence in July, one of the things that you cannot beat is known as the similarity phenomena and the identification phenomena. It trumps just, no pun intended, it trumps just about everything. By that, yeah, to a certain degree, the only thing I can't predict is degree, but that's the trend. Brain likes familiarity. Yes, Stacy, absolutely. Yeah, Jennifer, it may not start out looking like. Now, again, I might get a little racially charged here, and I apologize, but if the father is a different ethnic background, there may be some obvious discrepancies there, but the facial features may morph. Okay, not saying they will morph, although that's what I was taught. There's definitely a possibility. So what we're going to do now, and you may want to take a 5-minute bathroom break or whatever. I'm just going to jump right into emotions. When we look at people's emotional makeup, first of all, everything I'm going to show you in this diagram is symmetrical. What I mean by that is, even though, like, for example, sadness, you can see sadness on this side of the face. It doesn't mean you can't have sadness on the other side of the face. So every single thing that I'm showing you the relative position. It can be on the right side. It can be on the left side. You need to look at where it is in terms of relative position on the face. Okay. Now, again, my intention with this webinar is to take as long as I need to take to give you what I need to give you. If you've only budgeted a certain amount of time, thank you for playing. By all means, go get on with your life and pick up the rest from the replay. But I want to get through I'm going to give you about 5 or 6 of the traits on the emotional map. We're going to jump into what we've got coming up for the future, and then I'm going to circle back and I'm going to take more questions, finish the emotional map, and look at some of the things that you have the biggest questions about. So I hope that that's okay with you. If it is, please jump in the chat and show me what you got. Hold on a second. Cool. What does a butt chin symbolize? A need for attention. Linda's asking, what if one eye smiles and the other looks sadder? Excellent question, and it goes directly to what I'm about to show you. This is why I had to say right off the bat, each of these is symmetrical. When you remember our very first slide was on what? Right and left zones of the face, right? So remember, right side is public, left side is private. Okay? So now, when we look at lines, the deeper and longer the lines, the more energy and the more repression you're seeing. Okay? So let's say I have, and one of the first lines we're going to look at is skepticism. Skepticism can be seen at the rounding of the eyebrow, right up here, right? Now, when you start to look at people's faces and you unpack their traits, it's always more useful, never be judgmental when you talk about a person's face. It's always a good idea to compliment some feature about them first, and then describe the behavior a certain marking indicates. Okay? If there's no marking on the face, they're probably deeply dissociated, or they're a Buddha and they're getting ready to reincarnate as the next Bodhisattva or something like that. Okay? People mark differently when it comes to trauma. Okay, so skepticism lines are people who I make a little joke when I talk about skepticism lines. Says, I can see by the line right above this eyebrow right here that you tend to be very skeptical. You don't take anything anybody says at face value. You want to see proof. You want to know. You want to have evidence to support the claims that people make before you decide to believe it or not. Every now and then I'll get a little provocative and I'll smile and say, you don't believe shit that people tell you, do you? And they'll laugh. And again, it's all in how you present it. But skepticism, if you're presenting to somebody and you see that line along the outer edge, just above the outer edge, it's kind of almost like the Spock line. If you ever see when Spock raises his eyebrow, that's almost kind of where that line comes from. It's from that kind of a movement. And so that's skepticism. Directly below that, at the rounding of the eye, from the outer canthus and moving upward, these are joy lines. These are joy lines. If you see a very deep, very long lines here, this is someone who's experienced a lot of laughter, a lot of joy, a lot of good times. Now, when we talk about joy, we have to understand that the Chinese definition of joy is a little bit different than what we classically think. True joy is like more like happiness or contentment. But in Chinese medicine, they say joy damages the heart. And the kind of joy that they're talking about in terms of being pathological is actually more akin to excitement. Okay, so and the way you can kind of qualify this is, think about a time in your life when everything was just good. There was no problems going on. All of the bills were paid. There was a little extra in the accounts. You were just content. And that's kind of the healthy kind of joy that we want. But if you've ever read stories about people who like win the lottery and then drop dead from a heart attack, that's what we call pathological joy. That's overexcitement. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now it's content time. I'm at 75. Let me do a couple more, and then I'll jump into what we've got. Is any of this useful so far? I mean, is it helping? Okay, excellent. As long as, again, I'll stay on as long as you guys want to learn. Not like we have any place to be anyway, right? Okay, cool. Stop listening to the people that rush you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of an impatient person myself. If you ever saw the little lines between my forehead, you would see that right away. So, right below joy. A second. Come on. Right below joy is sadness. Now, sadness, whereas joy comes from the outer canthus and goes up, sadness comes from the outer canthus and goes down. And you have 3 degrees of sadness that we're going to talk about right off the bat. Sadness, sorrow, grief. And you can think of each of these as bad, worse, or not so good, bad, really bad. Something that's relatively new, you'll see marked here. If a person's gone through 2 or 3 funerals in the last couple of years, maybe gone through a breakup, you'll see these lines start to get deeper. Now, one of the things I want you to pay attention to when you look at somebody's face is if they're symmetrical. So we say that the outer canthus, we can see joy and we can see sadness. So the sadness energies go down, the joy energies go up. When we look at the face, the sides of the face, where are they deeper? Are they deeper on the private side or on the public side? When you look at the depth and the markings that a person is exhibiting, and you correlate that to their public or private side, you can start to get an X-ray or a diagnostic of what they've experienced publicly or privately. You see how we can begin to simply extrapolate how a person's emotional life might be? Okay. Okay. I haven't seen many vertical lines, Jason. If I looked at the line, what I would do, this is not something that, again, this is how I would extrapolate. But if you could take a straight edge, see if I can do this for you real quick. I'm gonna make this I'll make this a little bit bigger. Can you guys see the eye okay? Okay. If we look at the eye, and if we can take a straight edge, let me see if I can find a straight edge real quick. And we draw a line across the pupil like so. Very seldom will the line be flush with that line. If the lines are above this line or above that center of the pupil, you can qualify them as joy. If they drop down, you can qualify them as sadness. Okay. Now this is a little bit, I actually use this technique to measure a different attribute, but it might be a good way for you to make a determination as to what a line means. Okay, but while we're on it, I'll show you something really quick here. When we're looking at eyes, and I did a 2-day seminar just on eyes. This is something that, especially if we're doing matchmaking or we're doing any kind of therapy, this is something that's going to be really, really important. Also, for those of you who are more influence oriented, when we start, let me make a thinner point here. There we go. Okay, if we take that same line, shoot. Sorry about that, guys. I'll do a real quick extrapolation on eyes real quick, and then I'll do the offer, and then I'll come back to the facial map. So if you look at the canthi, and the canthi are the corners, inner canthus, outer canthus. Okay. When the outer canthus is above that line, in other words, the canthus is actually somewhere up here, you have somebody who is very optimistic. You have somebody who is very open, very kind of more happy-go-lucky, very optimistic. If their canthus descends, you have somebody who has what we call a downturned eye as opposed to an upturned eye. Downturned eye people aren't necessarily pessimistic, although there is a more pessimistic side to them. These are people who have a very soft heart for hard luck cases. These are people who, if you come to them with a sob story, they're going to do something. They're going to want to do something to help you. They know the world is a tough place to live. Bad things happen, and when they come across somebody who's in a bad way, they're going to be more likely to lend a helping hand. And that soft-hearted good-naturedness to them also often makes them ripe for manipulation by people who know how to tell a good sob story. So if you have downturned eyes, understand that you have a natural compassionate streak inside of you, and sometimes people can read that and use it against you. Does anybody here have ever had that experience? We're not going to get into colors today. Okay, so while we're on the eyes, and I may pull up a different picture for this. When you look at the corners of a person's eye, sometimes they're rounded. Oh, that's too big, the crop. Sometimes they're rounded. Sometimes they're pointed. And sometimes they're hooked. If you see somebody who has a rounded inner canthus, you're looking at somebody who is a little bit more tentative verbally. If they need to tell you something and it's important, or there's a lot of emotion connected to it, they may stutter a little bit. They may kind of meander a little bit. They may not get right to the point. If the inner canthus has more of a point to it, can you guys see this okay? Cool. If the inner canthus has more of a point, this is somebody who has, I don't want to say a mean streak, but when they're angry, they're very verbally aggressive. So if they get mad, they're gonna say mean things. They can just eviscerate you with their words, right? But that particular behavior only tends to come out when it's mad. So people with this ability have a really good verbal acuity. People with a rounded inner canthus can still be very eloquent, but when there's something very emotionally impactful to them, they may meander a little bit before they get to the point. If there's a hook to the inner canthus, I'll show you some actual examples in a minute. If there's a hook to that inner canthus, this is someone who will say whatever they need to say to get you to do what they want you to do. They will use their words not only as weapons to hurt you, but weapons to influence you to do what you want. Do you understand the distinction? Yes or no? Yes, you may see narcissists will tend to use this. Sociopaths will tend to use this. By the way, and if you have that marking, it does not mean you're a narcissist. It doesn't mean you're a sociopath. It doesn't even mean you're a bad person. It means you know how to use words to get people to do what you want. Let me pull up a hook for you so you guys can see what that looks like. It's useful. Cool. All right. Let me see if I can find you a good picture of eyes real quick. This will work. Now, this particular graphic I used to teach width between the eyes, which again is not where we're going today, but you can tell a lot by the space between a person's eyes. Okay, but if you look, here's someone with very. Can you see the hook in the eyes, especially that left one? Okay, and over here you also have a little bit of a. This is actually hers is actually a little bit more rounded. Oops. So hers is actually a little bit more rounded. Here, this is Katy Perry. She's got a little bit more of a rounding. Actually, she's got more of a hook. Actually, it's what's interesting if you look at Katy Perry's eyes, and you draw that imaginary line down the middle, you can actually see that her left eye is actually more pointed than her right eye. Hold on, did I do that again? I'm sorry. Right? But what you want to do is you want to take the information and you want to go out and look at regular people and see these things and understand them. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. There is a slight, when I change from the video to the share screen, there is a momentary blackout. Don't panic. It's just the software changing, changing its process. Okay. Questions about what we've covered so far? Does ethnicity matter in face reading? Only to a slight degree, and I'll come back around after I do my presentation, and we'll discuss that. So Terrace is asking, so when you mentioned proper diet to help with Jing due to removal of bone, would you be a bit more specific as to what to eat? That's gonna determine a lot based on your emotional makeup, your elemental makeup. But if we're talking about rebuilding bone, then you want to use a lot of bone-based foods. Bone broth, Chinese bone broth or bone soup is actually very, very good at rebuilding the body. Well, Roma, when one side of the face sags, it could mean anything from Bell's palsy to emotional traumas that have been accumulating on one side of the face. Could be a lot of things that could mean. Okay, so is it okay with you if I show you what I got prepared for you? Would that be all right? Cool. All right. Yeah, don't worry. Hold on a second. Now I'm having all kinds of issues. Sorry about that. Let me just find my PowerPoint again because it got turned off by accident. Okay. Okay. Give me some patience here. Okay, so I've shared with you are taken from Lillian's book, and I highly recommend that you pick up that book. We use her textbook for all of our face reading trainings. So you guys ready to instantly learn how to read other people's personality, understand yourself better, and take your skills and your life to the next level? Cool. Let's talk. So here's what we got for you. Now, many of you know that if people come to me at the end of a training, they ask me, so David, I noticed, I've been to your website, I've noticed that the prices for your live events and your video products are very, very similar. I'm trying to debate where I should go first. Should I come to the live event or should I get the video course? Without fail, without hesitation, I always say come to the live training, because when you come to the live training, I can look over your shoulder, I can interact with you, I can give you go over your sticking points, help you. You know, if you've been to the live events, go ahead and type it in, right? And so obviously with this whole Corona thing, my live events have changed form. We haven't stopped doing live events, don't get me wrong. But what we've done now is we've gone to a more virtual format, and I'm going to explain how we're doing that as we go through the process. So what we're doing right now for today only, we're offering a free video package that we put together called Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course. And this is a $1,497 value. And this is a 3-day video course that we recorded in Las Vegas back in, I think it was 2018. And this is actually a very powerful combination of face reading and personal transformation skills. So what we did during this training is we went through the different applications of the face. We looked at the Jing markers. We looked at the trauma history. We looked at the emotions of the face. We taught people how to do face readings. But then what we did is we actually sent people out into the world to do face readings with people and notice how faces changed. The other thing we did was we spent a whole day on transformational techniques. In other words, not only did we teach you how to read the face, we taught you how to unpack the emotions and where they are on the face, how to reverse traumas, and through the specific alchemical processes, you know, we actually taught people how to remove the traumas from themselves and from other people. And people were coming in with all kinds of success stories about how faces literally changed right in front of them from like in 20 minutes. People were looking at different. This is a very powerful course. There's never been a course quite like this one. One of the most frustrating things for me when I was learning face reading was that it was all diagnostic. I spent 5 days listening to people talk about their problems, and my pragmatic side kept going, okay, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? How do we fix it? And the course that I was being trained in was not about fixing it. It was just about finding it. So when I decided to put a program together, I wanted the best of both worlds. I wanted to be able to teach people and teach you how to look at your face, how to look at other people's faces, how to read those faces, unpack those issues, emotional issues, through dialogue and through talking, but also through very powerful tactical interventions that allow you to unpack those traumas and release those emotions right away. What's covered? I don't understand. And so we put this together. It's $1,497 value. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to give you even more of a bigger bang for your buck. We wanted to make this course one of the most powerful journeys of personal transformation for you. It's one thing to be able to read a person's face. It's another thing to look at your face and know how to find your stuff and rebuild yourself from the inside out. So what we decided to do was we decided to put together a program that would give you all the skills that you would need to not only read faces and understand people in a bunch of different settings, but also how to fix it. So that course is $1,497 value, but we're going to bundle that with our Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course. And this is a course that has been our flagship hypnotherapy certification program for close to over 10 years now. And it's going to systematically teach you how to unlock the powers of your subconscious mind. You'll learn how to hypnotize people anytime, anywhere, for any reason. You'll learn how to remove blocks and limiting beliefs, find and remove hidden negativity from your body. You're going to learn how to clear up issues that just don't seem to go away, or they go away and they come back. If they've ever had that experience, we'll give you very specific techniques to clear that stuff up and get rid of it once and for all for yourself. And then we're going to show you how to change that crappy voice inside your head so that it builds you up instead of tears you down. If you don't know what voice I'm talking about, it's the voice inside your head that just said, what voice? We're going to show you how to resolve negativity from your past so that when you look back on it, you only remember it in ways that make your life better. And we're going to teach you systematically how to install the traits, qualities, and characteristics of the people who you admire and want to be more like, so that you can take those skills out into the field and run with it. Okay, and there's a whole lot more. We'll teach you conversational hypnosis. We'll teach you instant and rapid inductions. There's actually some techniques that are not mentioned in the regular syllabus that are part of this program. It's very powerful because it targets the building blocks of identity so that you can become the best version of yourself, so that you can utilize face reading and these techniques to help yourself and other people be the person you want to be and desire to be, instead of the self that the environment and the universe or the people around you conspired to make you. Yes, it can help you quit smoking. Yes. It's not specifically for quitting smoking, but you can address that. If you combine the face reading and the identity by design, total value, if you were to go to the website today and try to buy each of those courses on their own, it would be $2,994. But wait, there's more. We're also going to include, for those of you into energetics, there's a very strong energetic base to face reading. Energy Secrets and Vibrational Healing, Energy Secrets and Remote Influence Home Study course. It's also a $1,497 value. We're going to teach you how to unlock the power of your mind in this course to control your energy, build it, and use it for something other than just waving your hands in the air like most Qigong people do. We're going to show you how to balance and clean your chakras both in person and remotely. We'll show you how chakras work, why they work, and how to influence those. We're even going to show you, I think in this course, we actually show you how to take some of the identity by design techniques and turn them into energy healing interventions so that you can use the same techniques to do work on yourself. We're going to teach you how to influence and heal people in other parts of the room and in other parts of the world. And we're going to do it in a way that you can actually test it. We actually hook people up to machines, blood pressure machines, thermometers, pulse meters. Reiki is more along the lines of Shen, actually. Reiki actually means universal energy, so it taps into cosmic yang. And in the vibrational healing course, we actually have a module which is an overview of energy healing systems. So we'll literally put on the screen, we'll put these different energy healing modalities like Reiki, pranic healing, Bengston, Qigong healers, DNA theta healing. We'll put them on a chart right up in front of the room, and we'll actually go through each of the different aspects of those modalities, so you know what their strong points are, what their weak points are. You'll learn the difference between invocative healing versus evocative healing, channeling healing versus the Duracell model. You'll understand how all of these different energy healing modalities relate to one another and how to use them. If people wanted to do a webinar on image cycling, we will. But I think we actually teach image cycling in this video. If it's the course I have in mind, I think it is the one where we actually teach image cycling. In fact, if you scroll down to the bullets, you're going to learn how to manifest anything you want in the shortest amount of time possible. That's usually done through image cycling. And image cycling by far is the most powerful manifesting technique I have ever seen in my 50 plus years in the world. I have not seen a technique that manifests things faster than image cycling. You'll learn how to protect yourself against manipulation and psychic attack. And finally, you'll learn how to get on the track to becoming your true self, the person you came here to be, to get on your mission in this life and start down that path. Thank you, AJ. AJ says, you don't look that old. I'll be 54 April 20th of this year. 54 April 20th of this year. So if you combine the face reading and secrets of Chinese medical hypnotherapy, identity by design, hypnotherapy, $1,497 value. Combine that with the vibrational healing, energy secrets, and remote influence home study course, $1,497 value. If you were to go to the website today and try to buy it, you're looking at spending over $4,491. But wait, you're also going to get people reading for fun and profits, body language secrets home study course. This course is not about face reading. This course is about everything else. This is a course about facial expressions. It's a course about understanding posture, ventral orientation, the clothes people wear. and how to read people's language and expressions and use it to understand the body. You learn how to understand the body language of attraction. What are the telltale signs that someone's attracted to you? And these attraction cues, while we're on the subject of attraction, I want to point out the attraction cues are also similar cues that you'll see when someone's getting ready to sign a deal or say yes to a sale. Many of these body language indicators, like pupil dilation, forward leans, are actually indicators of happiness and a desire to move forward. So you'll learn how to distinguish those things. You'll learn how to detect lies and other deceptive behaviors. You'll learn how to spot narcissists and people who are more self-oriented. You'll learn how to influence people without your words, through your posture and your breathing, and how to control the frame through your physiology. You'll learn how to project charm and confidence and charisma on command. You'll understand men better than you ever thought before. You'll understand women better, because one of the things that I do whenever I can is whenever I teach a body language course or an attraction course, I try to have a co-ed audience. The reason for that is that both sides need to understand how the other gender is interpreting what they do. And until you bridge that gap, both sides are going to be blaming the other person for not picking up on their cues and doing what they think is the right way to do it. So we have to become more aware of ourselves internally as well as externally. Okay? You learn how to dress for success. You learn what clothes people are going to mark you as somebody who's more authoritative, more charismatic. You'll eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence. In the end, you'll be able to close more deals, get more dates, and be more confident in your ability to read people so you know what to do when. People will no longer be quite so much of a mystery to you, and you'll be able to take advantage in a heart-centered, ethical way of the environments that you're in to get your results and help other people get what they want. Is that fair, to move through the world getting everything you want by helping other people get what they want? Is that a good way? Is that a better way to move through the world? Camille, we teach sphere of influence. We might teach it in vibrational, but we definitely teach it in CPI and killer influence. Okay. So if you're going to, again, go to the website, it's a $997 value. And by the way, all of these courses are instant digital downloads. So the moment you opt in and grab your course, you're going to get instant access to all of these videos. You can start watching them tonight, right? And since we have a lot of free time on our hands, might be a good time to build up on some skills. Total value so far is $5,488. But I'm also going to throw in, because one of the biggest, our most popular video, the most popular topic we have on our YouTube channel is about lie detection. So I'm going to throw in this Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch a Liar crash course. This was, I think, a 3 or 4 hour seminar that I taught a few years back. And in it, I teach the psychological tips and tricks to help you catch liars on contact. You'll understand the key indicators of deception. You'll learn 15 unique tells that clue you in when people may be lying to you. You'll learn the optimal time, how to look at somebody's phone, or when to look at somebody's phone and know when they're most likely to be talking to their mistress or their lover. How to look at everything the body is doing and understand it from a perspective of a body language expert. You'll learn how to understand men better, understand women better. You'll learn how to eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence or may flag other people that you're being deceptive. And you'll, again, be able to close more deals and get more dates. And most importantly, I think, for every one of us, is you'll never be manipulated again. You'll be able to at least have a fighting chance to spot these abusers and these manipulators before they have a chance to sink their teeth into you and manipulate you in ways that are not in your best interest. So let's review, right? So here's what I got for you. As of today, for today only, the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course, which includes 2 complete days of intense face reading training, as well as a full day of interventions that you can do to completely remove traumas or dissolve traumas from your mind and help other people, valued at $1,497. We're going to throw in the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course, also valued at $1,497. We're going to bundle that with vibrational healing, energy healing, and remote influence. This is my basic. This, by the way, this course, if you're going to come to it live, has prerequisites. So this is going to go a long way in helping to prepare you for the live event where you get to do really cool shit. Right? And the value is $1,497. We're also going to throw in the People Reading for Fun and Profit 2-day intensive, value $997. And finally, we're going to throw in the Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars crash course, valued at $97. If you were try to go to the NLP Power website today and grab all these for yourself, you would spend a total of $5,585. So here's the deal. This is a great package. It'll cover a lot of your bases for you. But you know, one of the things I talked about at the beginning of this part of the presentation was I'm a big believer in getting your ass in a seat and working with you one-on-one for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, whatever it's, whatever's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck. I could very easily create all these online home study courses and certify everybody and make millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, what I have seen is that the vast majority of people who just come to do a course on their own online, they come out with a certificate. They can't actually do anything in the real world. And so it'll be a very, very long time before I'm willing to certify people fully and completely online. So let me explain to you why I'm talking about that. For the next 35 people who register today, on August 17th through August 19th, 2020, in Las Vegas, Nevada, I am doing a live face reading for fun and profit certification boot camp. August 17th through the 19th, 2020 in Las Vegas. It'll be held at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. And for those of you who decide that they want to get deeper into these things and understand how to improve their lives, we are giving the first 35 people who jump on this offer today, we're offering you a free 2-for-1 virtual live VIP ticket. Now, let me explain what this means. If for some reason, come August 17th through the 19th, we are not beyond this pandemic, we will still do this training, but we will do it virtually. In other words, you'll log into a Zoom room, I'll start teaching, you'll break up into the little chat rooms, and you'll practice face reading on each other for those full 3 days. Once the coronavirus issue has been resolved, you can now attend a live face reading class absolutely free. So it's literally a 2-for-1 live virtual event training. You're going to get your choice of any 2 face reading trainings, 1 virtual, 1 live, valued at $2,994. You'll be able to instantly read other people's personalities. You'll understand how they think, how they feel, and how they behave. You'll be able to measure their sexual and romantic compatibility, their current state of physical and emotional health. You'll uncover, resolve forgotten traumas, their relationships with their parents and siblings, know how they make decisions, and much, much more. Okay. Total value, if you could actually get this, you can only get it on this webinar. In fact, when I sign off this webinar, this goes away. But this is only available for the first 35 people who register for the webinar package today. So it's a total value of $2,994. Total value for today, if you were to go to the website and try and get this on your own, will be $8,579. So here's what we've got for you. Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course, valued at $1,497. Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course, also valued at $1,497. Vibrational Healing, Energy Healing, and Remote Influence, $1,497. People Reading for Fun and Profit, 2-day intensive, valued at $997. The Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars crash course, valued at $97. And the 3-day face reading 2-for-1 VIP super ticket that includes 1 live event and 1 virtual event for the first 35 people to take advantage of this offer today, August 17th through the 19th, 2020, Las Vegas, Nevada. Total value $8,579. Now, the best part is, obviously, that I'm not going to charge you $8,579 for this. In fact, I'm not even going to do it for half price. I'm not going to do it for a quarter of the price because we're in the middle of a pandemic, because everybody and their brother wants to know these materials and has lots of free time. And, maybe work has slowed down a little bit. You can get all of this for one low investment of just $997. Or if you like, you can break that down into 3 easy installments of just $399. Okay, but and you get that free VIP ticket. Well, thank you for that, Richard. I hope I can stimulate you back. Right? There should be a link in your right-hand side there. Link is above the chat. So go ahead and take a few moments. Stephanie, I believe, is online. Brandon and Henry are also online. They can answer any questions that you have. I'm going to answer any questions that you have. We're going to take about 5 or 10 minutes to just answer questions. And then if it's okay with you, I'd like to circle back and finish the facial map of the emotions and then go a little bit deeper if that's what you want to do. Would that be okay? Ariella, I'm not sure what you mean when you say how do they compare to the live classes. Anybody who's taken a Zoom class with me and a live class, please let all of our attendees know what your experience was like. You're a much better advocate for whether this is worth your time or not than I am. Obviously, I'm biased, so I want you guys to just talk. Well, you will, yeah. Well, again, you will get a chance to see me in person, Ariella. It just depends on which one you're going to be able to do first. Are we going to do it live first and then one virtual, or are we going to do it all, are we going to do one virtual first and then one live? You will get to see me. It's just a question of when. Yeah. Well, absolutely. You get the best of both worlds because you do get the secrets of face reading, identity by design, vibrational healing, people reading for fun and profit, the how to catch liars crash course. And those are all downloadable instantly. There'll be no distractions. You can stop the video. You can rewind it. You can pause it. You can play it. You can, if you have a touch screen like me, you can zoom in and get higher def. Hi, David. I need to speak with you. Someone I should call tomorrow. Call Stephanie, and she'll get you set up, Chris. G says you get twice the training and more information to prepare before August. The link is gone. Shared it again. Okay. And again, my intention is, after giving you guys a few minutes, I'm going to circle back and finish the emotional map, and then I'll answer other questions. Okay. If you guys will give me 5 minutes, I'd like to take a biology break. Would that be okay? And we have lots of existing students, so please, by all means, ask your questions. And if I can't answer them, Seth or Allegra or Jeff or Jason, Francine can answer. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. All right. So now that I'm back, and with your permission, Stephanie is going to remain in the chat, as will Brandon and Henry. But as I promised, we're going to circle back and we're going to do more face reading on the face. And thank you, Glenda. Thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you in person. Vegas, as of now, is still on, and let me tell you something. I am gonna be so fired up when I hit Vegas. It's gonna be like crazy. Because if you ask any of my students, I love being live. I love being with you guys one-on-one. And I just go all out. I go to Vegas with one agenda only, that is to give you and teach you as much as humanly possible. In fact, I often get in trouble because there's a hypnosis convention that I often teach at during the same time I'm doing these three-day events. And so what I do every now and then is, a presenter won't show up, and somehow mysteriously I find the empty room, and I just start teaching stuff unannounced, and it pisses off the promoters, but people love it so much they can't really do much. Yeah. All right. So that being said, hold on a second. I'm going to go ahead and circle back. Face. I want you guys to see my face for a while. So let me answer any quick. You have the Killer Charisma t-shirt. Yeah. So before I jump back to the facial map, do you have any questions about any of the markings or the traits that we've discussed so far? Diane, do all facial lines mean something? Yes. One of the things that when you get deeper into the face reading systems, which remember is a valid 3,500-year-old core piece of Chinese medicine, but it goes way deeper than anything that made it to this country within the last 4 decades. There's everything. I even have maps for moles and the position of the moles and the age markings on your face. The amount of data to be comprehensive in this can be overwhelming. So I'm spending a lot of time reorganizing the data into chunks that are both practical, immediately useful, and foundational. They build on each other. So Jennifer is, Brian is asking, what if somebody, this is a good question. Brian is asking, what if somebody has a scar or a marking in a facial zone? Depends, generally what that indicates is that they've had some kind of traumatic event or some intense physical or emotional experience at that time in their life. The narcissistic eyebrow is seen in the right eye, and it's a very defined, very thick, very distinctive eyebrow. And this is not actually from Chinese face reading. This is actually from neuroscience, and I think some people were experimenting with some quantum processing, like high big number type data, and they were running these experiments to see if, I have the video, or not the video, I have the article link somewhere. I'll post it in a chat. If we create a chat or something for this, I'll see if I can post that data for you. I might have even posted it. Does anybody know? I did post in our face reading Facebook group. Does anybody have those links? I can go find them, but I won't find them right now. There, Sean found it. Sean, would you agree with the saying that people ugly on the outside are ugly in the inside as well? Not necessarily. No, in fact, some of the ugliest people on the inside have said some of the prettiest exteriors. But they do have markings that can give you an indication of some of their predilections or predispositions. I mean, let's look at a guy, just to name an example. Let's look at a guy like Ted Bundy. The guy was hot from most perspectives. He was a cesspool inside, right? But this guy was extremely charming, extremely socially adept, but yet inside he was, he was a monster. So Stephen is asking, what if somebody, oh shoot, every time I try to find your chat, Stephen, ask your question. Oh wait, it is. What if somebody had multiple surgeries in nose, sinus, jaw, where tissue and others were removed and started from mercury hypersensitivity? How do broken, infected, empathic teeth relate to the face, since it's all interconnected? Stephen, I actually have a chart, believe it or not. I have a chart that shows what every tooth in the mouth is related to, believe it or not. I haven't studied that yet, but I have one. So the key to remember when we're looking at surgeries or cosmetics is anytime we alter the bony structure of the face. I would extend that to say even cartilage, but really bone is where we see the most dramatic changes in people, both in terms of maybe the attributes they had access to prior to the surgery versus attributes they have access to after the surgery. Every change in your bony anatomy will impact your Jing in some way. How that change to your Jing manifests, I can't predict it. The one story that keeps coming to mind for me was my teacher Lillian had a client who had a son who had this massive, almost Cro-Magnon style jaw. You know what I'm talking about? This big, gorilla type jaw. But he was an exceptional football player. In fact, he was so good that he was being recruited and romanced by a lot of Ivy League schools to come and play football for them. When he graduated from high school, his mother got him plastic surgery for his jaw as a graduation present. And as soon as he was out of the hospital, he went to play football. He'd lost his ability to play football. He just couldn't do it anymore. Because something about, and if you think about the jaw is a repository for wood energy. The jawline itself is a repository for wood energy. And wood energy is the competitive energy of the body. It's the achievement energy of the body. If you're out in the corporate world and you see all these high-level CEOs are go, 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 the regular hours of work are 9 to 5, and they're there 5 a.m. to 5, to 12 p.m. 7 days a week because they love to work. That's a wood person. That's someone who has a lot of wood energy. That can be seen in the jaw, can be seen in the eyebrow ridges. And when you modify that, it's like taking a big chunk of somebody's energy and just ripping it out. So there's going to be ramifications for that. I have not seen any ramifications for putting like implants in. I haven't seen anything that shows me that there's a change in personality when an artificial implant is put in. Although I'm sure there is some impact, but I don't know what that would be. But I've seen people's personalities change from putting a stud through their tongue, through their eyebrow, through their earlobe. These are all places that are very energetically and neurologically influential in the body, and it can change things. It can change things significantly in how a person expresses themselves. So let me see if I can read the bigger chat here. Hold on a second. Okay. Camille's I got one more question about sphere of influence. Is this technique that allows you to bring people closer to you, or is it just Circle K? No, this is Camille. Sphere of influence is one of those techniques that bridges from traditional rapport skills and heart-based coherence to vibrational and remote influence. It's one of those bridging techniques that shows you how to utilize the proprioceptive nervous system, heart coherence, and the autonomic nervous system to link with other people through the peripheral nervous system and synchronize heart and mind. Okay. What about reducing brow bone? You're going to have the same thing. This is going to be an area that, if anything, it's going to make you less. It will tend to make people less woody. And what that means is they may not be quite as resistant to authority. They may not be quite as much of a go-getter. They may not be quite as athletic or driven to achieve by reducing the brow bone. That's because the energy in the brow bone is the same as the energy in the jaw. Not a problem. Okay, you guys. All right, Anna Marie's asking, can that mean a piercing can help being? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Anna Marie. Lillian tells stories about people who are bipolar. They put a stud through their tongue. Their bipolar goes away. People who are manic, they put a stud through their eyebrow, and they stop being manic. Really, I can treat your whole ear. I can treat your whole body through your ear. I think in this case it was the right eyebrow, but I don't know for sure. I haven't done those studies. Okay. And I would not accept what I'm saying here as a treatment, a suggestion for treatment. you should, if you have issues like that and you want to deal with them, you should probably seek out a competent acupuncture therapist or Oriental medical practitioner, and you should do that with the blessings of your primary care practitioner, whoever that might be, right? I had a piercing in the top of my ear going up. What about ear piercings? What does that mean? Both earlobes. Piercings don't necessarily mean anything, but they do stimulate acupuncture points in your ears that can have energetic or neurological systemic ramifications. Like I said, there's a whole system in Chinese medicine based on ear acupuncture, and we can treat the whole body through your ear. So you start sticking posts through those ears, depending on where you're sticking it, you can have a lot of problems. Do you guys want to learn about some of that stuff, or do you want to go back to the emotions? What do you want to do? It's your time. You tell me what you want to learn. You want both? All right, tell you what, here's what we'll do. I'll finish the emotions, and then if I have any energy or voice left, I'll review the package, give you guys a last chance to buy or grab your package before they're all gone. And then we'll look a little bit at the ear. We can't go too far into it, but I'll pull up some pictures and we'll talk about that. Actually, Angelica, there are some points on the ear that you can use to control appetite. Okay. All right. So you guys ready for emotions? Hold on. Can we apply face reading to what? Can you re-ask that question because I missed it? Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I don't want all this crap. So we've talked about skepticism. We've talked about joy. We've talked about sadness. We've talked about the outer and inner Canthi. Steven says, can we apply face reading vibration remotely to affect others in positive ways? I don't know. I don't know, Stephen. I've never attempted to do that. We've done a lot of really cool stuff remotely, but that's not something we've played with. So my recommendation is study the materials and practice on your own and see what comes. If anybody else who's any of my other face reading students or vibrational influence students want to chime in, if they've had experience along those lines, feel free. Okay, so one of the things I want to draw your attention to, no pun intended, is this area of the face. The area that extends from the outer canthus down and up. What does that look like to you? What does that shape I drew look like to you? Looks like a lung, doesn't it? And it does have wings, right? And that's exactly right. If you do any kind of therapy work, and you get, because I do a lot of, I have a clinic here in Solana Beach where I've been treating acute and chronic illness that are caused by repressed emotions for the better part of 15 years. And so anytime you start to see things like COPD, asthma, allergies, emphysema, and you start to go back to the cause of it, the emotional cause, it's almost always some form of sadness related trauma. When we're talking about sadness, that's one of the things we want to understand is all of these are what we call metal diseases, and they'll all originate they'll all lodge in the lung or the large intestine because they're energetically they're paired organs. So if you have somebody who's got a lot of irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, I don't know, there's another one, but that's okay. You're going to find out many times when the emotion is too strong for the lung to handle, it'll go down to the intestines, right? So what's interesting is, when I look at your face, we look at people's faces, we see their eyes, we look at their mouth, we may notice their eye color. When an acupuncturist looks at your face, oh, never mind. Crap. When an acupuncturist looks at your face, this is what they see. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure that can you see the picture I just showed you? Okay, so you see the lungs are in the cheeks. They're at the bridge of the nose. The kidneys are below the eyes. Spleen and pancreas are between the eyebrows. The liver is the eyebrow. The gallbladder is above. Okay, so when I, as a medical practitioner or face reader, Chinese vibrational psychotherapist, and I look at your face from a medical perspective, that's what I see. I can diagnose every organ in your body from your face. In fact, if I put needles in these areas, I can treat your liver and your kidney and your lungs and your reproductive organs and your intestines. So if you start to take that emotional map that we talked about and you start to overlay the sadness, the sorrow, the lost love line, it all passes right through that area. Dry lips are usually a sign of dry intestines, which is not always a good thing. Logan's asking, are organs based on behavior precipitate damage and healing? It's a feedback loop. Anything that affects your organs affects your emotions. Anything that affects your emotions affects your organs. And that's why if you go to a Chinese medical practitioner and you've got depression or you're constantly enraged, they're going to treat your liver. They're going to use the same points to treat your anger or your depression as they would for something like liver cirrhosis of the liver, fatty liver, slightly different points, but they'll all be liver related, because whether it's an emotional expression of an imbalance or a physiological expression of an imbalance, it's still the same archetypal energy. And so that's how they're going to change it, or they're going to treat it. See it. I'm going to try and get close to the camera. Can you see the wrinkles right in front of my ear? I don't know if you can see them or not. Can you see the wrinkles right in front of my ear? Type yes if you can see it. Bullshit detectors, yeah. All right, some people can see it, some people can't. Maybe on this side. I just realized my beard might be covering it, so I apologize. when you look at somebody's face and you see these little lines like gills right in front of the ears, we call this auditory intuition. And it's a line, a set of lines that's really worth paying attention to for a couple of reasons. A person who has these lines has the developed ability to listen to what people are saying and extract what's below the surface. They have great bullshit detectors. These people make great therapists. They make great investigators. They make great interviewers because they can zero in on when people are not being truthful, when there's an emotion connected to something, or they're deflecting. They have this very strong, powerful auditory intuition. And the reason they've developed it, and this is why when I say nothing in life is wasted, is because growing up, these people grew up in a very unsafe environment. They grew up in a place or amongst people where they constantly had to walk on eggshells. They had to listen very, very carefully so they could gauge and understand what a person's mood was like and know what not to say or what to say. So it's almost, it develops almost as a form of auditory hypervigilance or post-traumatic as a result of mild forms of PTSD. And so later on, it becomes a useful skill, but it develops from growing up in a hostile or potentially traumatic environment. Okay. People with this marking also tend to have a tendency towards dehydration. So if you do have these markings, you have the ability to just read between the lines, hear what people aren't saying, know when they're full of shit. But you also have problems with water metabolism, so you want to make sure you stay properly hydrated and that your energy and your lymph is healthy. Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Ray. I hope we see you again soon. All right. So let me go ahead and jump back to my picture. That's auditory intuition. Another line that's very important to pay attention to, and I have this one as well. If you see a line or a couple of lines on the earlobe, let me expand this picture. I drew these in over here so you could see. If you see lines like this on the earlobe, what you're seeing are blood. It's an indicator of blood pressure irregularities. Now, emotionally, what this means, here's a line right here, by the way. It doesn't necessarily mean you have high blood pressure. What it means is that you tend to have erratic blood pressure. In other words, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. Emotionally, there tends to be a tendency for people to over-respond emotionally. In other words, if, like, say you're walking down a street or an alleyway or a hallway, and your best friend jumps out and yells "boo," and the level of startle that a normal person or an average person who doesn't have this line would experience would be a 5 or 6. You might go to a 7, 8, or 9. Okay, so there's a tendency towards overreaction within the vascular and the pericardium system that is marked by these. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have high blood pressure. It doesn't mean you're going to have a stroke or anything like that. It does indicate that you have a tendency towards neurological overexcitement and irregular blood pressure. So you might want to have that looked at and just pay more attention to your cardiovascular health. Ideally, Roshan, we're looking at faces that are not contorting themselves. In other words, a normal face. If you have to compress your face to manifest a line, it's not as much of a problem. It's not as much of a problem. Okay. In fact, certain lines will only manifest when you access certain emotions. Like lost love lines are probably the one I see the most. If you start talking to somebody about, like, if you come to Killer Influence in July, and we start teaching you 3 magic questions protocol, one of the questions that we ask is, tell me about where you grew up. Who are your friends? What did you play at? And they start talking about something they used to love to do, and then that person, maybe the person died, or they couldn't do it anymore because they got injured or they moved away. As they're talking about that moment where they couldn't do it anymore, you'll see that lost love line just pop for a fraction of a second or half a second. It'll just come up and then it'll disappear again. Anna's asking, what is the basis of irregular blood pressure? I do not know. It could be neurological. It could be, it's almost always neurological, I would believe. Could be a lack of nutrients. Could be a lack of exercise. Again, I could speculate all day long. I don't know, but I can give you ideas for what it might be. Okay. A line you're going to see a lot in people when the lines run from the outer canthus diagonally inward this way. You're seeing pain. Now that could be physical pain. It could be emotional pain. If you're a healthcare practitioner and they're coming to you with back issues, this will pop right out. If they're coming in and their face doesn't show any markings and they start talking about the abuse they suffered when they were 12, this might pop out. Ella Marie is asking about what about a line between the ear and the mouth on the side of the cheek from the jawline to the mid cheek? Ella, I'd have to see the marking. From the ear. I have no idea. Fran, the short answer is yes, facial scars do influence you. Any change to your face, any structural change to your face makes a difference. It makes a difference. This is a cool one. Again, our president has these in spades. These are called mania lines. Now remember, we talked about, when we look at the outer canthus, lines that extend from the outer canthus and come up and just barely reach. Hold on a second. And just barely reach the eyebrow. We call these joy. But when those lines start to creep up past the eyebrow, now we're dealing with mania. This is what the Chinese would call pathological joy. High energy, ADD. If you know anybody who's up at 4 o'clock in the morning tweeting, you'll see they probably have these lines going on. Okay. Christy's asking, what about an ingrown hair or scarring? Scarring for sure. An ingrown hair, I do not know. It's never come up in any of my classes. Francine, we're going to get to the line between the eyebrows in just a second. We're moving up to the 12 o'clock position, which is where we're going. So any questions about what we've covered so far? Oh, if the scar is from an ingrown hair, then absolutely it'll matter. Anne Marie says, hi, I'm up at 3 a.m. trying to learn something. No questions. Okay. Well, what's more important, Christy, is where on the facial map that particular scar shows up. And also in terms of age. If I have time, I'll show you some of the age stuff. Zachary says, what would a small depression in the upper left cheek mean? It shows more when squinting. Upper left cheek? Well, let's extrapolate. If it's in the upper left cheek, it's probably lung related or kidney related. And is it more like a dimple? It's probably some kind of deficiency that needs to be looked at. That would be my bar. If it's a dimple, it might be. It's not a mole. Can I explain hyperactivity more? It's dimple-like. If it's more like a dimple, Zach, then it's probably a good thing. Actually, it's probably more fire. But if it's in a lung or a kidney area, I'd have to see the mark, but if it's a dimple, then it's usually fiery. Eyelids, droopy eyelids are usually signs of criticism. Either you're criticizing yourself or other people. Anna says, so I may have missed that these lines can be on both sides. Yes. Does the side they are on relate to the personal public side? Yes. So first, again, just to review, every single trait I've shared with you on the facial map can be on the right side or the left side or both. But because you understand right side is public, left side is private, you can look at the relative depth and strength and length of the lines and know where it's predominant, where it's stronger, where it's weaker. Being vegan can impact your face reading, yes. Yeah. Because vegans tend to be blood deficient. They tend to, because there's a lack of iron in their diets and a lack of the things that meat gives you, they tend to become a little bit more blood deficient. They can develop paleness in the face. They can develop a line right here that indicates a tendency towards anemia or blood deficiency. And there's a lot of people who have a natural marking right here. We call that a human angel marking. And these people actually take energy from their blood and use it to help other people. And so they're always running a little bit light in terms of blood deficiency. Okay, so let me go back. If you take, you know what? Let's just do it this way. If you take your finger and you just lightly press and rub the tip of your nose, if you feel a little indentation, you have a human angel marking. These are people who have a very compassionate nature. They want to help other people. And when they offer help or support, they literally, in addition to the actions that they take, yeah, kind of like a nosebud, Richard. Yeah. They literally kind of give people their energy from their blood. And so these people tend to run a little bit more. And this is a heart-related point on the face. So these people tend to be a little bit more blood deficient, tendency towards anemia. So they need to have more iron and more blood builders in their system, and especially if you're vegan. You need to make sure you build up that blood. Justice, I do not know if blood types affect any of this. I have not been taught anything about blood types. The Chinese did not, in their ancient systems, did not establish or integrate blood typing. Okay. Most of the people who, I'll be honest, most of the people who wind up in my trainings and in Planet David have that marking. They have a sincere desire to more fully embody, tap into their potentials, become the best version of themselves, for the purpose, secondarily, of helping as many people as possible. There are people in their lives that they want to help, and they want these techniques and these technologies to do that. And that's really all the coursework that we teach at NLP Power is for that. It's to help you get the life you want the way you want it, so that you can bring your mission to the world and get everything that you want and desire out of life at the same time. So that's kind of our overarching mission. Black screen again. Just refresh. Okay, so let's go back. Finally, okay, last two on our line, and some people were asking about these. If you have lines in this area, two lines indicate impatience, annoyance, and irritation, right? If you were sitting there while I was going through the offer we've got and going, will you just get to the point? You probably have these lines, right? I have these lines in spades because I have small children and I deal with the internet, right? However, there's other markings that can come up. And the one that's most problematic for people a lot of times is when there's a single line. Right down the center. So when you have one big line, We call this suspended needle. One second. Suspended needle. And this is an important marking because if you have it, it means you're not fully empowered. And I'll explain what that means. Suspended needle usually indicates repressed energy. That's usually wood energy. And so what happens is when you're young, when you're growing up, at some point in your life, you expressed anger. You've expressed anger, and the ramifications of expressing that anger were so severe that you made an unconscious decision, maybe sometimes a conscious one, but ultimately an unconscious one, to never let that happen again. So let's say, for example, and this is the story that Lillian tells. Lillian talks about a time college basketball player. And it was the last game of basketball season. He was in the championships, and there was this one player on the other team who was really good at fouling people and just getting away with it. And so what happened is on like the last quarter of the game or something like that, this guy fouled him and was just yelling at him because laughing at him because he got away with it. The player lost his temper, walked up and just bashed the guy right in the temple, knocked his ass out cold, put him in the hospital. He got suspended from the game. He got suspended for the season. He actually wound up in jail. And from that moment on, he developed a mark right there. Now, many times that single marking is directly related to an interaction with whoever was the dominant parent, usually the father in the family. At some point, as a young man or woman is growing up, they reach that point where they want to express their autonomy. They want to exert their dominance, or they're going to try for dominance. If you've ever had a teen living in the house, you know what I'm talking about. They establish their boundaries and they want to keep pushing yours. And at some point, there's a conflict. And every now and then, a teenager loses control. They express that liver energy, that anger energy. They raise their hand to their parent, or they actually strike their parent, wind up getting kicked out of the house, getting punished in some way, and the ramifications of that are so traumatic for a person that they literally put a block on how much of that energy they're willing to express. Now, the problem with that is that your wood energy, your liver energy, is your achievement energy. It's the energy that lets you go out and slay mastodons. It's the energy that allows you to build a business. It's the energy that allows you to rise within the corporate structure. And so if you see that line, you have a certain amount of energy that you're willing to put out there. So there's a certain level of success in life that you're going to let yourself achieve. And then when you reach a certain point, you're going to hit that block and you're not going to be able to go any further. So if you have this line, this is probably one of the most important lines, aside from trauma lines, to resolve. Because usually when you see people with a very deep one, and you see them, if you watch enough television or you go out in the world, you'll see people with lines like this everywhere. That single line means they're not fully empowered. They're not tapping into the full level of energy that they have to make their way in the world, right? And liver energy, by the way, it sounds like the liver energy is like this, violent, aggressive energy, and it can be, but it's also the highest form of wood energy or liver energy is actually kindness and compassion. Wood people are very, very heroic, and they're very, very compassionate when they're balanced. These are the people who love to be the hero. So ladies, if you ever have like heavy bags to carry upstairs, look for the person with the biggest jaw, the biggest forehead, and go into your damsel in distress act, and they will happily carry all of your bags to the top floor of the hotel. And they'll do it much more happily than if you offered to pay them. Nope, don't look for the biggest arms, look for the biggest forehead. Biggest forehead. Okay, but generally speaking, people with the biggest arms also tend to have the biggest foreheads. Okay, and when you come to the face reading class in August, we'll show you what all this stuff looks like. We'll make it very, very functional for you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so when you see these 3 lines here, this is an indication. This is an indication. Refresh it again, because that was my fault. This is an indication that they know they've had a temper and they've done the work that allows them to actually manage it. So if the shit hits the fan, they get stuck in traffic, you know, their 5-year-old breaks their favorite, you know, dish or whatever, they're not going to lose their shit quite as badly. Whereas somebody, hold on a second, somebody like that, yeah, they're going to get pissed. All right. And the final line, and I see this, I'm starting to see this more and more in my students, which I think is kind of cool. There's a line that, let me clear this out. There's a line that runs diagonally, usually sometimes coming up from the eyebrows, sometimes coming up from the third eye area itself. We call these transformation lines. There are certain key periods in your life where you go through what we commonly refer to as a long dark night of the soul. And these, we especially go through them at every decade mark. We call them critical transitions, but every now and then we go through these periods where our life just goes to shit. And the only thing we have to do, according to the Taoist approach, to really reap the benefits of it is just survive it. And when we come out on the other side of it, many times when we'll gain some kind of a spiritual epiphany or insight that dramatically changes how we see ourselves in the world, the people in our world, our place in the universe. It's a very deep transpersonal marking. And so you'll mark with a diagonal line that almost radiates like the rays of the sun from the third eye or eyebrow area. I haven't seen any top limit. Lillian talks about in her meetings with like the Dalai Lama, like when she says that when the Dalai Lama speaks, these lines appear. They're called Buddha wings. And then when he's done speaking or preaching and he goes back to being just His Holiness, you know, talking amongst the people, they drop away a little bit. There's still some there, but there's not nearly as much. So there's something very, very much related to the third eye opening and this critical life transitions that have to do with how these marks show up. My associate, who helps me a lot with my clinically as well as running the AV for my events, TJ, has started developing a lot of these lines in the past 2-3 years. So these are good lines to have. There's signs that you've been through a war and you came out a better version of yourself than you were when you went into it. So they're good lines to have. And I've actually seen people, when I taught my last Golden Path workshop, I made kind of a joke. I taught the first day or second day, I think it was the first day of my Golden Path workshop, which is probably the most spiritual class or spiritually oriented class that I teach. And I was getting ready to teach day 2, and I have one line that goes up this way. I was looking in the mirror and I saw another line on the other side. I was like, cool. I learned something. And then I asked myself, what did I learn? And I forgot it and the line went away. So the universe plays weird tricks on you. But I saw a lot of people coming out of the Golden Path workshop with markings. I know Guada, I don't know if Guada's on. She came out with 2 or 3 of them. One of our attendees, because she wound up processing stuff that she didn't realize needed processing, and those things come out during our workshop, which is why you'll never be able to buy a video of a Golden Path workshop. They have to be done one-on-one, and the information that comes out is very personal. It's very private. It's probably the most intimate class that I teach. But it's all about finding out what your mission in this life is and using face reading and our transformational techniques to get you on that path in the shortest amount of time possible. We can talk about disempowerment lines, sure. As diagonal lines that run from the inner canthus down the bridge of the nose, like so, actually. And these lines, I don't like to call them disempowerment lines because I don't necessarily think that disempowerment really encompasses the behavior that goes with that. You see these lines in people who have been in abusive relationships for long periods of time. You may see these lines in children who've grown up in households where they weren't allowed to be the person they wanted to be. And these lines are kind of manifest in a way that's similar to the suspended needle. And the way this works is, in this context, in this relationship, somebody encroached on your boundaries. They violated your boundaries in some way, and you initially pushed back. You stood up to them. You said, no, you can't do that. That's not right. I'm not going to stand for that. And the pushback to your pushback was so strong, so traumatizing, that rather than stand your ground, you relapsed into appeasing behavior. You started doing anything you could to mend the explosion. You start becoming the good little soldier or the good little servant that the person who's was pushing your boundaries wants you to be, to avoid conflict, to avoid the trauma of having to fight. So I call these appeasement lines because that's more of what's happening there. You have given up your power, but you've done it in a very specific way. You become an appeaser, an enabler, right? If the person that you're living with is a rage monkey, you do anything in your power to keep them from getting angry. When they show the slightest bit of anger or displeasure over something that you've said or done, you move heaven and earth to make up for it. Okay, do you understand the distinction? Yeah, this energy up here means you push back because you're afraid of using it and hurting somebody else. This one says, I'm satisfied. I'm pleasing you, so I don't get hurt. Okay, I see this a lot in my clients who have domestic abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse. These marks have a lot. I see this more in rebellious people, entrepreneurs, people who just don't like to be told what to do. A lot of woody people have this. What if you have both? Then you got some clearing to do. That's all. None of these, here's the thing. None of these markings mean you're broken. None of these markings mean there's something, quote, wrong with you. What they are like check engine lights on your dashboard. They're literally telling you that certain filters have a lot of stuff in them and the filters are now clogged and you need to go in and clean out the filter. Just like you would change out the oil filter on your car, the air conditioning filter, the air filter on your air conditioner. These are your emotional filters. These are your emotional reservoirs that show you what kinds of emotion you're holding and how much. They also show you the state. They also show you the state of health of your organs and what emotions you're doing a lot of. So if you make facial observations or facial, going over the markings on your face every day, you have an instant snapshot of your emotional and physical well-being, and you can start taking direct steps. That's why we put the program together that we did. It's not enough. It's fun as hell, by the way. Let me jump out of this real quick so I can look you in the face. It's fun as hell to be able to look at somebody and know all these cool things about them. It's even cooler to be able to do something about it. To look at somebody and know how they're living, know what kind of lifestyle they have, and be able to walk up and dialogue with these people and make a difference in their lives. It's even more powerful and cooler that I can do it for myself and you'll be able to do it for yourself. That's why we put the package together that we did. A lot of you want to understand people. Most of you want to understand yourself. Secondarily, you want to use this in business. You want to use this in relationships. You want to use this for healing. That's why we put the package together that we did, is because it's not enough to just be able to read it. You got to be able to do something about it. And so we put together the products and the programs that we did so you have the tools. And we added that live event training on there so that you can come out and work one-on-one with me, with live human beings, and get hands-on training. Because nothing is going to put this inside of you faster than those hands-on trainings. Okay? So that's why we did what we did. For those of you who may be coming on later, I just want to go over, if it's okay, I'll just this offer here that we did. Again, it includes our Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course, valued at $1,497. The Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course, valued at $1,497. The Vibrational Healing and Energy Healing Remote Influence course, valued at $1,497. All of these courses, I picked these very, very specifically to make sure that you get the ability to fix or build upon whatever you want to use your face reading for. People Reading for Fun and Profit, 2-day intensive, valued at $997. Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars Crash Course, $97. And of course, that 3-day free VIP 2-for-1 super ticket, which includes 1 live and 1 virtual face reading event. Our next face reading event is scheduled for August 17th, 2020, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Total package value would be $85.79 if you went to the website and tried to buy it. But if you want it today, you can get all of this. Includes that VIP ticket for 1 low investment of $997, or you can break those payments up into installments of $399. Okay, so I'll take a few more questions, but it's 7 o'clock here at my time. Thank you all for staying on. What other questions do you have before I jet off into the stratosphere? A small kind of shut eyes compared to the whole face. That's usually somebody who's very closed off emotionally, very guarded. Francine says, thank you. You're very welcome, Francine. Thanks for sharing. Christy says, any other signs for healers and empaths? Not off the top of my head. AJ says, it's wonderful. Thanks, David. All right. Well, you guys rock. And you guys take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Wear your masks if you need to. If you're in one of the populations that are most significantly affected, please do your best to stay safe. Avoid giving in to the fear. Otherwise, you might find yourself buying large quantities of toilet paper. Love y'all. It's been great. We'll see you in Las Vegas. God bless.